Safe Driving 101. Oh shoot.
Hey everybody, so this is Rob from Copper Barn Homestead, and this is our Barndominium journey before we really did YouTube. This is the first plan that we had, which did kind of fall through, but we started off this adventure just over 2 years ago when we sold our house and decided to move to the property that we bought back in 1988. We moved into our RV and started clearing the property. We got our driveway put in, met with the RMC and got the electrical back to the build site. We spent several weeks clearing this property out. We cleared about a 2-acre spot out here, and piling, cutting, and burning this brush was some of the most enjoyable times that I was having with my tractor. We had a friend come in with some heavy equipment to do some of the bigger parts of the job. So we were making great progress on our clearing, and this spot that we picked was perfectly sloped for a walkout basement, and we were really looking forward to that. Unfortunately, we didn't realize there was a rock shelf about 4 feet down that was going to make a basement very complicated. So we kind of went back to the drawing board, redesigned our Barndominium, and moved along. So we just recorded a lot of these short clips just for our own memories as we were building our Barndominium. And again, this was just put together for our own memories at the time, but there's such an interest in the DIY portions of Barndominiums that we thought we'd throw them together and just bring everybody up to speed with how we got to where we started our YouTube channel. I had a lot of clips of this grapple in action. I was just so impressed with it. We had a bonfire going for about a month straight, and then lucky for us, right as we finished burning all this wood, the county ended up putting in a burn ban. So lucky for us, we got it burned up just in time. So this was our home for that year as we got the barn under roof. And then these are just some pictures of the clearing that we made. Coming up is a picture that Maggie used to kind of pick the colors and the style that she wanted to have on the outside of the Barndominium. So we got our clearing complete in June, and we had the driveway in, we had the RMC come in, and then this is the redesign that we did on our pole barn where everything is now in one building basically. So this was a 48 by 80 shell that we had contracted to build. Our next step was to go ahead and get the well put in, which did make me a little nervous just because where it's at, all of the heavy trucks that were going to come in later for the construction could have possibly ran over it. So we ended up getting the well put in, and then we put some rocks around it and put some big snow fence around it, trying to make sure nobody ran into that thing. So now we're into September, and the guys showed up to do the foundation. Pretty exciting. Building is definitely a game of patience. You're in a hurry to get it done, but everything else pretty much happens at its own time between financing, contracting, and getting everybody, all the people lined up. It just happens when it happens. And you've got to be ready to be patient. So this is a poured footer, and I can't remember the exact dimensions, but it seems like it's like 2 foot thick and 2 foot wide. And then they come back and put the forms on top of that for the foundation wall. These guys were really good. They ended up doing all of the concrete work that we had done from this footers to the foundation wall, and then actually came back and did the slab on top as well. And they had a heck of a crew. So these guys poured this footer, and then they were back within about, I think it was still within the week, to end up putting this foundation wall on. So like I said, I was very impressed with this crew. Since we had to scrap the walkout basement portion of our build, our friend suggested that we move the building farther to the north, which would end up putting it on more level ground, which would reduce the cost of fill by quite a bit. And I'm glad he suggested that, and I'm glad we did it, because we still spent a ton of money on that fill. Here you can see the two conduits for the electrical sticking up through the gravel, and then the one that's kind of in the middle of the building is the sleeve for the water line that will eventually go in. So at this point, we'd realized how valuable it was to have a dozer always on site. The amount of trucks that got stuck coming in and out of here was kind of crazy. So anyway, our friend that helped us with the excavation that has a John Deere 450, he had to move on to do another job. And we ended up finding this Cat D3B locally and ended up having to do replace a couple bottom rollers. But this has been one heck of an investment for our homestead. So honestly, there's a lot of things that wouldn't have gotten done without having that dozer around. So we like it.
Stop!
So now our foundation and fill was done, and it was time to bring in the plumbing contractor to do the under slab drains. And also, this is the company that we contracted out to have our heating system put in, which was a system of mini splits. So they came in, got all of their pipes done in, I don't know, they were here 3 days, I think. And then it was just a matter of waiting game for the people to come back and pour the slab. This is the sleeve that we put in to run our water well line in once the well people came back to run that. And I knew I had to get it out at least 10 to 15 feet from the house because we have an 8-foot porch that was going to go on this thing. So I dug the trench with my termite, and then it promptly filled with water. So anyway, it was kind of a battle. It froze a couple times. This is like the peak of hunting season and definitely going into winter. And that was one of the reasons all these deer kept hanging around up here, I believe. So we got a call about 6 o'clock that night, which of course it was already dark by 6 o'clock. Then the concrete guys were coming back to do the slab in the morning. And I didn't know if they would get all the leaves off this thing, but there were about 6 inches of leaves piled up. So I was out there at dark cleaning these leaves out of this gravel so that they can come back and pour the slab on pretty much clean gravel in the morning. And true to their word, that concrete crew was back before sunrise the next morning. These guys brought this concrete pumping truck in, and I'd never really seen one of these in action. This is an amazing piece of engineering. So at this point, we had kind of planned to use the finished concrete floor as the actual finished floor in the house. And we'd looked at acid staining and several other different techniques. But in the end, it didn't end up working out. But I believe that these guys put a good enough finish on that floor that we could have done it. So now the concrete's all in and starting to cure. They've got their expansion lines cut in it. And DC Metal shows up with their first truckload of material. And they are who we contracted with to build the shell of our barn. This is DC Metal's construction crew, and they were all family, and they had about 6 people, and they didn't let any grass grow under their feet. Here are some ideas Maggie was looking at as far as different kitchen counters, under the stair storage, and so forth. She found an awful lot of ideas off Pinterest, but these guys got this building going up, and then it started snowing. This is late November, early December 2019, and we had some nice days, but it was starting to get cold. We had started this adventure in June of 2019, and this is how long it took to get to this point. So we had worked with RMC over the summer to get our power back to our build site, get our transformer in, and we had temporary power back there. The DC Metals crew worked Monday through Friday, so on Saturday it was our turn to get in there and get our power from our disconnects over to the building. And M&M Electric helped out a lot with that. RMC was actually helpful too with that, and we sure appreciate both those companies. So here are these service entrance cables, and a tip that M&M gave me was to tape a water bottle over the end of those wires before you start shoving them through that 2.5-inch PVC conduit that we put in way back when we did the foundation. So that tip was very helpful. So the Daviess County Metals crew would work Monday through Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday, Maggie and I were able to get in there and explore, and then also do the parts of it that we still had to do. So here it's another weekend, and this weekend we're going to put the electrical into the house. So the crew from Daviess County Metal had been using the temporary out by the transformer, and they were really excited on Monday when they came back and had power inside the house and didn't have to traipse through the mud over there to get their stuff plugged in. So our next weekend project that we had to do was run all of the wiring that was going to go inside the barn. Because once they insulate and put the metal on the interior walls of the barn, obviously you wouldn't be able to access it without running conduit. And I didn't want to do that. And they were really great about kind of letting my schedule mesh with theirs to still get it done in a timely fashion. So I really couldn't say enough about that crew from DC Metals. So this is actually just a couple days before Christmas, and the building is pretty much done. The overhead doors, there was some kind of issue with ordering it, but the DC Metal crew was done with everything but the doors, and they told us if we wanted to pull our RV in there, we could do it. So we didn't waste any time. So at this point, we're still living in the RV, but the RV is in the barn. And we don't have any heat in the building yet, but we're working on it. And here's our heat. So DC Metals had actually framed in all of the interior walls downstairs, and they wanted to do that just to add strength to that floor system upstairs. But we had to frame in all of the interior walls that were going to be upstairs, as well as start on the electrical and do all of the plumbing that was going to go in there. So we've started on that. We still don't have any garage doors, and there's no heat in the building yet other than our propane salamander heater, but we're on it. So we added these double doors into our loft area or upstairs area, and the upstairs is primarily a wood shop and just extra storage anyway. But those double doors make it very handy to get stuff in and out of through the upstairs with both of our tractor forklift and then the little lift that we ended up buying. So this is now mid-January, and we finally have our overhead doors in. We brought fiber optic cable in the same time we brought the electrical in, but I hadn't trenched it into the house yet because I wasn't honestly sure where that needed to go. Anyway, so Maggie finally decided she'd had enough not having internet, and the fiber optic line came in the house. That termite really is fantastic, and like I said, it dug right through this frozen ground like nothing. So, man, that thing's a heck of a tool. So this is February 2020, and the well company comes back to go ahead and hook up our well and run the line from the well to the house. So, man, we were really excited. We're going to have water. So I use the termite back here behind the house, and what I'm doing is these gutters that come off the roof. Like I said, I wanted all that water out away from the yard, so I actually trenched that out to the perimeter drain. So here we've already roughed in all the electrical, and now we're roughing in all of the plumbing, drain, and vent lines. So we ended up doing all of the electrical that's interior as well as all of the interior plumbing, except for the under slab stuff ourselves. And like I said, we had M&M Electric. We've got a lot of family in the trades. And so like I said, anything we needed help with, it was available, but we were able to do most of it ourselves, which enabled us to build this Barndominium dream. Here's some of the plumbing supply lines going in, and we did this all in PEX, and we kind of built our own little manifold over here. And like I said, it ended up being a really slick way to do it. I had never used PEX before, but really not a whole lot to it. It's pretty slick. So at this point, we had moved out of the RV and got an electric heater and moved into the house. We had an air mattress that we were using. But one of the things that came up real quick was the amount of mud that was there. Like I said, nothing has grown grass or anything yet. It's still middle of winter. So this dog wash station ended up being pretty important. So Maggie and I have been redoing houses since we first got married. We've remodeled every house that we've ever been in, and all but one of them we lived in as we did it. So this isn't anything new to us, but like I said, it's always a learning process each time you do it. To us, there's just not much more that's satisfying than ending up doing some projects yourself. It also saves a ton of money. Your mileage may vary. So this is January of 2020, and we actually had a pretty mild winter in 2020, which was lucky because we just had that one electric heater in this barn that had no heat otherwise. Anyway, we're just trying to get some grass to bloom as soon as it gets a chance, and the other thing that's going on now is starting to ramp up quite a bit. I think we used about 100 pounds of grass seed on this yard, and it finally came up. We also put a bunch of horse manure down with some other topsoil mix, just try and fertilize it up and get some grass growing before we start having erosion problems. So now we've got outside water, and that was a pretty good thing. And here's again our manifold system that we made. And here's our lift that we ended up buying. And we kind of turned this into an elevator for those double doors. Again, going on, so everybody's got to wear masks every place. Maggie's built all of our cabinets inside, so this is the cabinet she built for the guest bath. She made this top, and of course we put this vessel sink on top of it. We think it turned out really well. So this is our laundry room, and again, Maggie made the countertop. She used an epoxy with that, and we put the mop sink in there. This is a master bath. We wanted this 6-foot tub, so we've got it in there, and then we ended up tiling around it. And then this is really cool. This is our guest bath shower, and so we put corrugated metal in for the walls or the shower enclosure of that, and that turned out really nice. It was about this time that we were starting to think about wanting to film some of this stuff. The other thing that happened was we thought that, if we, have to make a video, we'll have to do some, get some progress made. So I started filming a little bit of things, nothing that was really anything that we had any idea how to put together into a video. And so, like I said, this is about when we started trying to video some of our projects and turn them into videos. I think this was our first attempt at filming while working on a project. So, it didn't come out great, but I think you get the picture. Now, this one is interesting. This was welding that tub faucet. And this was pretty nerve-wracking because I've done a fair amount of soldering, but this shower valve was $1,000. And you can see that pipe's pretty short. So you aren't going to mess that up more than a couple times before you'd be in some real pain. Anyway, no leaks. It came out perfect first time, and I was very happy. So we did go ahead and take off and go to Michigan for a few days. And then when we came back, it was time to start on the kitchen. So this is the beginning of our kitchen cabinets, which Maggie built all of. And we went ahead and got the cabinets in here, got the top made and put in place. And then we did the backsplash walls. We think this turned out to be one of the best parts of the house. It's really nice. So this was how we made our backsplash for our kitchen counters. We took this 1-inch corrugated metal and laid it out and just ran over it with the lawnmower. That way it ended up making it a little flatter. It's still wavy, but it's not as uniform, and so it just looks a little better. It does have a few like crinkles in it now and stuff, but again, just looks just enough to stress that it adds to the rustic industrial look of our Barndominium. So this clip holds a couple of firsts. This is the first time that Maggie has driven that mower, and I think one of these days I'm going to teach her to engage the blades on it. I don't know. I doubt that happens, and only because she doesn't want to. But the other first is that at this point we had discussed making YouTube videos, and we had started trying to film some clips, and this is the first filmed clip that Maggie's made. So a couple of firsts in this one, and it turned out really well. And here's the finished look. We think it turned out really well. Also, we added those industrial look outlet covers to all of the outlets on that backsplash. It just kind of added to the look, and we, again, are very happy with the way it turned out. So that pretty much brings us to February of 2020. And the last project that we did before we started filming all of our projects and putting them on YouTube was to add this dog fence and steps down into the yard. So we sure appreciate you watching. Hope you liked it. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. We love your comments. Have a good one, y'all.